Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Our current session focuses on defining language. Well, I hope and expect by the end of this session, you would be able to understand what is language and you would understand its significance, particularly in the contexts of language teaching methods or LTM. Well, my dear students, at the outset, I would start by quoting Raymond Williams, who has made a claim that a definition of language is always implicitly or explicitly a definition of human beings in the world. I think this is a way of looking at language, or this is a way of defining language that actually does some justification to the term language itself, because the entirety of, or the totality of human existence and experience on this globe is very, very strictly and in various ways it is determined and it is defined by the language that human beings have used through the history at different stages and at different times, that they use in different parts of the world, and that is a source of, or that is a tool of their expression of their feelings, of their emotions, of their thoughts, etc. Well, my dear students, if you go through the literature on, the definitions of language or how language can be described or explained, etc., you would find hundreds and thousands of definitions. It is not possible to go through all those definitions. I have chosen a very simple, very, to the point, and in a sense, a definition that is a layman's definition of language, and I would just explain a few points with reference to this. According to David Crystal and Robert Henry Robbins, a language is a system of conventional spoken, manual, or written symbols by means of which human beings are, as members of social groups or participants of its cultures, they participate or they play their role. So, language here is a tool that is used to express themselves, that is used to participate in the collective societal human life. And I think this is the important aspect that we need to understand when it comes to language teaching, or when it comes to language teaching methods that are to be adopted, because society, the social or the cultural aspects of language cannot be separated from language teaching as well. When it comes to the significance of language, well, language parameters every aspect of human experience, and it creates as well as reflects images of that experience. It is almost impossible to imagine human life without it, because it encompasses almost all the social activities of human beings. It is, however, very interesting that it is seldom that we think about language and the intricacies of language, and resultingly the intricacies and the complexities that are related to the teaching of language. Well, we are very oblivious of its ubiquitous presence in us and around us, just as the fish is, or is it. Making the choices, we are not very much mindful of these choices. So the fish is unmindful of the water it is submerged in. And, taking it for granted like that, this is how we treat language. Even those who systematically study language have not fully figured out what actually it is. Well, my dear students, from the semantic aspects of language, how the meaning-making processes take place in language, it is very, very important to understand what is language. And, from this perspective of the very meaning of the word language and how it operates, I would just share how it is brilliantly synthesized by both Western and non-Western visions of language that is developed through ages, that the leading French linguist and the psychoanalyst Julia Kristeva, 1989, has ended her book on that is written on the topic of language with the humbling phrase, where she asserts by saying this phrase, that still unknown object, language. So this very perspective on language, that despite all the research that human beings have conducted, despite all the studies that have been conducted on language, and simultaneously, despite the, kind of the practice of language through centuries in human history, it is something still that she finds is unknown to human beings. There is yet a lot to be explored about it. Yet there are so many perspectives and aspects of language that we as human beings do not understand. And I think when it comes to language teaching, or when it comes to choosing the methods for language teaching, for a student of language teaching methods, it becomes critically important then to consider the complexities of the phenomenon of language of itself, to consider the intricacies that are related to the linguistic practices of human beings as well.